So what is servlet? Just try to answer, unmute. What is the functionality of servlet? Actually, why we need to use a servlet?
Servlet is used to communicate between web source and backend database.
Client like front end and the back end. So what's the purpose of servlet in that?
Servlets are used for dynamic pages.
Yes, the main reason whenever someone asks what is the reason to learn servlets is to develop a dynamic page. Static pages are like given by the web server, whereas dynamic pages are developed using servlets and JSP itself. Okay, so next thing, how can you say a class is a servlet class?
There won't be a main class,
No, if you write a
and
normal
and
servlet class.
there will be a servlet class which is like
It inherits interface. No, it inherits a servlet class.
Implements.
Implements,
A
yeah.
class implements like servlet, then we can say it as a servlet class. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the lifecycle methods of servlet? How, how
like
many lifecycle methods are there?
three,
Three,
Init,
three. Yeah.
three.
service, destroy.
Init destroy. Yeah.
What is the functionality of init?
It is used to connect to the database.
What is the functionality of service?
Service is like to send and receive the requests from the database.
Right. Request processing and response generation is done in the service. What is that destroy phase, like destroy
And
method?
close the when we want to shut down the website or close the website, we use the distort.
Close the database connection. Next, how many lifecycle phases are there?
5.
What do you mean by doesn't exist?
Doesn't exist uses when there is a dot class file.
What do you mean by instantiation phase?
Instantiation page is like for
Pujit,
creating the connection. I think it's by using the like establishing the connection between client and server.
that is the initialization. See, anytime in Java, first thing we need object. So without object, you can't move forward. We have a class. Programmer is not creating the object. So how the servlet engine will create the object? Instantiation phase means generating the object of the class. So we use this class dot for name, which shifts the dot class file from hard disk to server. Then based on the class, we call a new instance method which generates the object. New instance method. Okay, so that is the instantiation object. We got the object, like servlet engine got the object. Based on that, it can generate object for the servlet config and call the init method. That is the initialization phase. Based on that object, it will create the servlet request, servlet response object, and it will call the particular service method, and it will call the last destroy method. So these are the life cycle phases. Once the instantiation phase is clear, then we got the object. Without the instantiation phase, we don't have any object of the class. So these are the basic things. And how to set class path? Yesterday I mentioned that already you have kept a class path known as OJDBC 14.jar. So you need to continue with that old one itself. You can't create a new one, or you can't overwrite. Okay. So after the OJDBC 14.jar, give a semicolon and try to give the new particular class path. Every time you have to do the same thing. Give me a second. Here if you say OJDBC 14.jar will be the right semicolon, then you can say C colon tomcat lib servlet hyphen API.jar. Again, if you want, you can give another path. Like this, you have to continue with the existing one itself. You can't create a new one. You have to edit the first itself. Okay, that's the path. Next, after this, how to create a web application? We need a server. What is the server we are going to use? We are using a server here, like say C drive. I'm using the Apache Tomcat server. This web apps is a folder which indicates the web application. Means every web application must be kept inside this folder. Each and every folder indicates a particular web application. Like here, we have the circuit cipher text connecting social media. We can see we have few files web-inf. If you see, all the projects will have a common thing known as web-inf, right? So how many applications you open, everything it contains the web-inf. It's mandatory. Okay. After that, the files are JSP files. So what are JSP also we'll see. But till the time, the web-inf is mandatory, and inside this we have the images, CSS files, or the HTML files also. Okay. So this is a structure actually. The same structure is followed by any particular application. It will be the same. So what is the structure we have to follow? That structure I'll just represent in a diagrammatical format. The one which is common for all the web applications is nothing but the root application name. Inside that web-inf is mandatory. After that web-inf, we need a classes. After that, we need a lib folder and a configuration file. So here, first main folder name, main application name, and after that, we have the web-inf. Now, this is the thing. Like, what is the things we have to do? The application name comes first. What is the entire thing actually? It's a directory structure. What do you mean by directory structure? In the web apps, whatever the folder I'm creating, that folder must contain this format. Okay, the first thing will be the application name. It can be any case, small or upper, it doesn't matter, application name. And the next thing will be inside the application, it's mandatory that you should need a web-inf folder, and inside that we have a classes folder, and after that you can say we need a particular lib folder and we need a web.xml. Okay, so what is the web.xml means? We'll see. First, it contains the .html, .css, .js, .jsp, images, help files. The help files which required for a web application. Okay, and what is this thing consist of? All sorry, all servlet classes, all the jar files. For example, OJD BC 14. Next thing will be the configuration file. What is this? Web.xml is a configuration file. Okay. So first thing first, this structure must be followed by every web application. And next thing, I just had a rough idea about what we needed for every application. Now I'm going to develop a servlet application, a small application, but I'm not going to connect to the database yet. Today, just how the values are taken from the HTML are retrieved in the servlet, and from the servlet, like how to display on the browser. I want to do the simple task. What is it? Simple thing is nothing but how to retrieve the values from HTML, or you can say web server, because web server takes the values, right? And display them on browser. Simple task, right? And tomorrow we'll see how to connect the database connectivity, how the database code will be connected, that we can see. It's HTML, right? So the application should contain a root folder name. Now we need to give the specific names now, what application we are trying to do. So it contains a webinf. Inside that webinf we have classes, and after the classes we have the lib. So what it consists, a HTML file also. First, the root application, a web application, like application name, webinf, and the three things. Now, first thing will be what is the application name we are looking for? I'm looking for a bank application now. So I'll just say HDFC bank app. Okay, so it's the HDFC bank app what we are trying to develop. In that, I need the first thing, web-inf. Remember this, it must be in capitals. Hyphen must be there without any space at the front, at the back. No space is allowed. In between also. Next, we need a particular class S folder, lib. We don't require actually the lib folder now, because we are not connecting to the database. Once we connect to the database, then we require the web dot, like lib folder ojdbc 14.jar. Okay, as per the structure I'm just drawing it. Now I need a HTML file. What is that HTML file? Register.html. The first thing when you open a website, if you want to enter into it, you need to log in. In order to log in, you need to register first. So here I'm going to just show that register.html, but I'm not going to store the values in the database. Today we just take the values from the HTML and display onto the browser. That's the only part we want to do. The same application folder we have to create inside the Tomcat, the web apps. Here we need to create it actually. Okay, so already have this thing. Now I'm creating an application known as HDFC bank app. So I created the folder, right? Inside that folder we need a web-inf. Inside the web-inf we need the lib folder. Sorry, first the classes you can say, and inside the classes lib folder, and the next part I need to write a HTML file. So what is the HTML file? We can say register.html. So we need some basic tags. The tag consists of HTML, the body tag. So we use Angular basis to indicate the tags, and the body BG color will be there. We can specify the BG color as wheat, any color you can take. And inside that we have a form tag which has an action attribute. The action is nothing but dot slash register. Okay, what the dot indicates also I'll explain. The form, the body, the HTML. Now inside this we need to write the tags. We have opened the tag and we have closed the tag, and the closing of the tags must be done in the reverse order. First I have opened that HTML, that closing of HTML must be done at the last. Now inside that I'm taking a username, input type, text, name. This name attribute is very important. The text box value is represented by this username itself, means the name attribute. So the password, input type equals to text, password. If you want that text must not be displayed, just mention it as password. And we have an email, input type equals to text, and name will be the email, and the last thing will be the phone. So the name attributes can be anything. It's up to your requirement what you want to write. Input type equals to submit will be there, and the value what I'm trying to write is nothing but register. That's it. That's a closed form we can say. Okay, any doubts in these things, anyone?
No.
Right, so what do you have to save the file as? Register.html. Where we need to save, go for the C drive, Tomcat, web apps, HDFC app, bank app. Outside the WebInf, we need to save the file as register.html. Save it. Okay, so if you want you can check this thing HDFC, right, double click on this, you got the particular fields, right? So first thing done. What is the first thing we required? Register.html, we have written it. The next thing we'll be writing a class now. So already yesterday I said we need to write a class, means to call a class as a servlet class means it should implement servlet. So that servlet is in a package known as javax.servlet.star, and every particular class must be public, and whatever the method you write also must be public, because interface methods are by default public. Okay, so the next thing will be public class, you can say register servlet, anything you can take. I'm just taking it as a register servlet which implements the servlet. And in this thing, if you see this, I have how many methods in the servlet? All those methods must be overridden, right? Suppose I'm opening the WebInf. In the classes, I'm saving it as register servlet. So remember that, copy the class name, save it with the same class name .java. Okay, inside the WebInf classes. And here What is this servlet? Servlet is an interface. Yesterday we have seen that same points, right? Java x dot servlet dot servlet. So how many abstract methods will be there? All the abstract methods must be overridden. Like here, how many are required? Init, get servlet config, service, get servlet info, destroy. Now tell me, am I connecting to the database?
No.
So do I require the init method and the destroy method?
No.
Am I getting any object of servlet config? No. Am I getting any information about the servlet? No. So the only method what we require,
Service.
but I am being forced to override all the 5 methods.
Yes.
How they are forcing me? By implementing a servlet. Like
Yeah.
every time you need to override this 5 because of the term known as abstract. Abstract is like a rule. It must be implemented in the subclass. If you're not implementing, you will get error. If you want to see, you can see the same thing like series space Tomcat, series space web apps, series space HDFC bank app, series space webnf classes. Or what you can do instead of opening like this, I can open a command prompt directly. Next, go for the folder location, the webnf classes, copy the entire path, copy it, open that thing, series space, right click and paste it. So directly also you can come. Now if I compile this register servlet.java, we got the error saying you didn't implement the destroy. Once you implement the destroy, it will say you didn't implement the get servlet info. Like if you want to see, you can write that public void destroy. Save this thing. Okay. It's saying get servlet info. If I write that get servlet info now, like public string, return type is string get servlet info, it will say I have to like override the service method now. Save this thing. The service method is not being overridden. So in this way, all the 5 methods must be overridden. So we are having the problem, right?
Yes.
What's the problem? Requirement is only of one method, but I am being forced to override the other remaining 4. So that is because we are implementing a servlet. To overcome this drawback, they developed another concept known as generic servlet, which comes under the servlet interface. So what is happening here? Servlet has 5 abstract methods. So every time if you implement, the 5 abstract methods must be overridden. But whereas in a generic servlet, we don't have that many methods. Generic servlet is an abstract class now. It's not a interface. Abstract class means what? Consists of concrete methods and abstract methods. Now tell me how many abstract methods are there in this particular class? Anyone? How many
One.
abstract methods are there? Only?
One.
What is that one method? Here it's
Service.
being shown. So in this thing, if you extend a generic servlet, it's mandated to override only one particular
Nothing.
method. So I'll remove this remaining 2. Save this thing. Now compile again. It's just saying you didn't override the method service. So what I have to override here? Public void service servlet request response, and the response is nothing but same thing. Now save this thing. You need to compile. Am I getting any error? No. Means what? One method is mandatory, the other are optional. If you're connecting to the database, override the init and the destroy method. If you're not connecting, just the service method will be fine, because these are the lifecycle methods which the generic like servlet engine will get execute, like it executes the thing. Okay,
Yes.
till now is it clear? Anyone, any doubts?
No.
Right, if I'm going fast, just let me know. Okay,
Yeah, sure.
so here, first thing what you have done, we have written the servlet class. Next task, I need to retrieve from the web server. What values? The values which are taken from the client. The client is interacting with the web server, not the servlet directly. You have to understand that. So servlet has to request the values from the web server. So in order to request that, here we have a method actually. So to retrieve the values also, we have a method known as get parameter. Where this method, java space java x dot servlet request, right? So in this servlet request, we have a method known as get request parameter. Sorry, get parameter, whose parameter is a string and whose return type is also a string. Where this particular thing is present, it's present inside a particular interface. Actually, most of them are the interfaces. Servlet request, right? So servlet request has a get parameter method. Which object we need to call now? Which object is required? Simple question, right? By using which object we can call the get parameter method? Which interface it has it? Servlet.
Servlet
So
request.
which object is required? Now, who is generating the servlet request object here? How I'll get the servlet request object request? Who will generate it?
Service. Service object.
Request.
That's what I'm asking. The request object, how I got it? Who is generating it?
Service.
Servlet request.
Servlet request is the interface whose reference is request.
Uh, Register generic servlet.
The generic servlet contains the service method. Who calls the service method? Who executes the service method? Same thing, if you understand the object, because without object, you can't create an object. From where the starting object coming? Instantiation phase. After that, initialization service. Servlet engine will call the service method by creating the servlet request and servlet response object. Servlet engine will call the methods. Servlet engine will create the objects. Programmer doesn't create the request, response, and config objects. Understood this point?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, next thing will be here we have the request object, and we can use the method known as get parameter, whose parameter is a like string. And what we are expecting? We are expecting a username. So this username from the HTML can be represented by this name attribute. So the name attribute must be retrieved from the HTML to the servlet request. Sorry, servlet, like my register servlet. So don't type the same things again. If you want to reduce the number of exceptions or the errors, do one thing. Once you have written that like word, if you're using it again in another file, don't type there. Copy from that particular first file. So I'm copying from the first file and I'm keeping it inside the second file. It's the best way of reducing the exceptions and the error. Okay, I've experienced it. So with my experience, I'm saying just try to follow the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So the main thing is that you do the spelling mistakes. Either E is missing or A is missing. What will happen? The entire application will not run. So single character if is missing, then it will cause a lot of trouble. You can't find it actually. If you are able to find it, it's fine. But you're not even knowing that where the exception is coming from. To avoid such scenarios, try to write this thing as string password. So what I want here again, request dot get parameter. I want that particular thing. So the name attribute is representing the value. Copy that here and paste it here, right? So request dot get parameter. We have the third parameter known as email. So how many text box will be there? All will be written. So request dot get parameter. Don't type it. Try to copy paste it. I got the values now. Okay. Now, can I print directly system dot out dot println? Can I say username? Registered with email. Will it print the output on the browser? The system.println prints the output on the browser.
No.
See, system.out.println the output on the command prompt itself. It doesn't print on the browser. So in order to print on the browser, we need to have another class known as print writer. Where is this print writer? It's in a package known as IO, similar to input output, but this output is displayed on the browser now. Same methods are there, println, all the methods are same. Okay, just the thing is it prints the output on the browser, and whatever the print stream is there, it prints the output on the command prompt. Okay. Yeah, any doubts, anyone?
No.
Right. So the thing is, I need this method. So I got the method, like I got the class. I have a println method. So in order to call this println method, we need object. But we don't create the object directly. We need a factory method again, because factory is a factory method generates the object of a class. So javax dot servlet dot. I have a servlet response, I guess. Yeah, servlet response, which has a method known as getWriter. See, here it throws IO exception. So we need to be using that also. Get writer whose return type is print writer. Where we can find this thing? We can find it inside the response. Simple thing, to get the values, request. To display the values, response. Request processing, response generation. Two different things, right? And here, now I have to call the getWriter method by using response, servlet response. Who created the servlet response object now then? Without the object, you can't call it. How the object got generated? I'm asking. Is that question clear? If you know the answer, try to unmute and answer. If you're not able to understand the internal process, what is the use of writing an application and developing it? First, object. Every time any program, just need to know where the object came from. Servlet engine is creating the object of response. So response object is also already we have it. So using the response object, we need to call the getWriter method. So response dot getWriter, whose return type is print writer. Simple thing. Okay. So the system.out.print also I'll keep it where the output is getting displayed. We'll see. So I'll just say print writer pw equals to response dot getWriter pw dot println. If you want, you can write anything like welcome to servlets, or I can say that I need a HTML code. So write the tags HTML and the body. So body will be the BG color, and inside the double quotes, again I can't use the double quotes, right? So I'll use the wheat, because if I use the double quotes, it will be considering it as a variable. It's not a variable, it's just a value. So wheat. Next, if you want to use, you can use a h1 tag, or directly normally you can print in the center format, okay? Or else HTML, close it. pw.println, I'll just say the same thing what I've done for here, like username got registered and executed, and I'll just say pw.println, close the tags now. That's it, nothing else. I'm saving it. Fine. So I have to compile it now. Java C space register servlet dot Java. So print writer is not found. So what you have to do, import the print writer because it's IO package. Simple thing. Java principle. If you need the class, you need to import. Now it's saying unreported exception, IO exception must be thrown. So I'll write this thing, throws IO exception. You can't write the exception where it's not the core Java program, right? So it's compiled, right?
Yes.
Now I got the dot class file. Next thing will be the web.xml. Here you can see I created a register.html. Fine. A servlet. What is a servlet class? You can say it's nothing but register servlet.class. It has been generated. And a web.xml is nothing but the configuration. See, actually I said client is not interacting with the server directly, like servlets. So from the browser, when I give this register.html, when I click on a button, the server need to decide the location of a class. That is register class, register servlet, you can say. So how come the servlet engine will know where this class is present? We need to guide it. Means Similar to JDBC program, we have a URL. URL indicates what? Unified Resource Locator. So in order to find that thing, we use this particular configuration file known as web.xml. So what that web.xml must consist of, like here, servlet and servlet mapping tags. And how to link the servlet and servlet mapping? We have a common tag in both servlet and servlet mapping, which is servlet name. So you can say here I'm taking a name. So any name we can take. So this servlet name will be present inside the servlet tag, and the same servlet name will be present inside the servlet mapping. So they can interact with each other. Like when I'm executing the servlet mapping, from the servlet mapping, it can reach for the servlet tag. Okay. So what is the difference here? You can say simple thing. First, I write the web app tag. In the web app, I said just we have a servlet tag, right? So servlet opening and closing. Every time you need an opening and closing tags. And we have one more thing known as servlet mapping, right?
Yeah.
So we have opening and closing of the servlet mapping tag. And inside the thing, common things will be the servlet name for both the things, right? So I'll write a servlet name now. Servlet name is there. What's the servlet name I want to keep? I want to keep it as register app. Just a servlet name you can say. So here servlet class will be coming. So before the class, so in order to interact with each other, the key must be the servlet name for both the things. Okay, so these are the pair. What's the pair? Servlet and servlet mapping are the pair. So in these things, the two keys will be the register app to map them, to link them. Then we'll have a particular tag known as servlet class. Okay, what servlet class we are using here? We are using a servlet class known as register servlet. So I'm not typing it again. I'm just copying it from the first file and pasting wherever I require. Okay, so servlet class. See, to reach that servlet class from the HTML, in the HTML, I have given a tag known as action tag, which has a slash register. So this is the link. When I click on this submit, this register will be taken by the servlet engine. It will search for a tag known as URL pattern. From the URL pattern, it will go for that particular servlet name. And from the servlet name, it will, like here, servlet name will take and search for the servlet tag, which has the same servlet name. So if it's finding the same servlet name, it will select the register servlet. So what the process is going on? So again, just save this file as web.xml. See, every time .xml is mandatory in the web.inf, I have to store it. Web.xml. Open the web.inf. This is the web.xml. If you want to check whether it's written properly or not, open with the browser. Simple thing. Open with the browser. If you are getting the code as it is, means it's fine. But suppose I'm just missing a tag. It's saying register app, register servlet, register app, and the register. Means it's not generating the code. Means there is a problem. So in this way you can identify the problem. If the web.xml is not proper, servlet engine cannot execute the servlet class. because it cannot find the class name. In order to have a URL mapping, sorry, in order to have that URL, like how the servlet will find out the servlet class, we are doing the same thing. From the browser, it will come to the web.xml, it will search for the register like servlet mapping, and with the same servlet name, it will search for the servlet tag. Inside that, whatever the class is there, it will execute that class. Simple thing. Okay. And to find the mistakes of the web.xml, we need to, what we have to do, open with the browser. Third thing, three things are there. The three things has been done. Now we can start a server, see the output. Till now, any doubts, anyone?
No.
Are you able to understand, everyone? Try to answer yes or say no, the message, anything, unmute. It's like I'm reading a story and you're listening. That's it. The story will be ended after that hour, and then you will do your works, right? I'll see how many will complete this application by tomorrow. So main thing from the basic I'm showing. It's just from where to where you have to go. I'm not going for the Eclipse right now. Eclipse part again we'll see after this application is done. Like half of the thing is done. So the basic tags and the classes what you're using, which is a interface, which is a class. But anyhow we need a factory method. Without factory method we can't generate the object. New keyword is not being used anywhere in advanced Java. Okay? Until unless we see the MVC concept. Apart from that, now here we need to start the server. How to start the server? C drive tomcat bin tomcat 7. And just say it as yes. So it will take a lot of applications because I have written a lot of things, right? So this is loading of the applications, deploying in the sense the directory structure. So the web application deployment will be saying. So one after the other it's deploying. I'm not writing any connectivity code. In tomorrow's class you'll see the connectivity code along with the login servlet. So how the login servlet also works we can see. Okay. So open the browser now. Localhost :8088. Actually, when you enter, you'll get the home page actually. So, but mine is having some problem. So I need to open the application directly. So Tomcat Web Apps. What's the application name? HDFC Bank app. Copy the entire name as it is. Go for the browser, and here just give a slash and give it. And this, which particular file I need to execute? Register.html. Okay, and just enter. If you don't give the register.html, it will just give error. If you want to see, you can see directly. So in order to overcome this, we just have to call the register.html. So I'm giving a username here. So Rahul is a username, Rahul is a password, and Rahul. So here I'll just have to click a register. So it's saying Rahul registered with the email rahul@gmail. How? Because we have written inside this thing, right? The same tag is getting executed. Understood? But it's a small thing, right? We'll make it big tomorrow. Now you can see I have written the system.out.println also. So where it got printed? It got printed in the web like server. It prints on the command prompt, right? So it's printing on the command prompt, like server running thing. Okay? Understood, everyone?
Yeah.
So Rahul registered with email rahul@gmail.com. So how that servlet engine was able to travel from this web, like here, what is it? Register.html to the particular class that we have to see. If you see in this link registered HTML, we have a particular /register, right? That's the thing. So actually what the /register means, instead of writing the http:/localhost 8088/hdfc bank app, instead of writing this entire thing, we just represent it as a dot. That is the reason why we write a dot. Dot indicates the entire path actually. Okay, in the same application you can find it, it's same. That's the reason we are using the dot. Is that point clear? What a dot indicates. Now it'll take the /register, and after the /register has been executed, okay, so what we'll have, we have the web.xml tag. Copy these things here. The web.xml is there, and the /register has been taken. It will search for a tag known as servlet mapping. In that, URL pattern will be matched. So it's matching, right? The same thing. So this is the first step, you can say. Okay. After that, it will take a particular servlet name. So it will go here. It will take the servlet name. So what is the servlet name here? A register app. It will search for the servlet tag. Here it is only having one servlet tag, so it's a direct thing it will find. If you have 100 servlet tags also, the name of the servlet and the servlet mapping should be the same, the servlet name. And from here it's selecting the class. So what's the class it's selecting? Register servlet. This is the fourth step. From this it will take this register servlet class. It will go for the thing known as HDFC bank, same webinf. Inside that classes will be there. That classes will have the register servlet. It will take this register servlet and it will call a particular thing known as class.forName, and by giving the register servlet class, here we'll get the class C, then c.new instance. Then it will create the servlet config object, servlet request, servlet response, and call the init service methods if we have the init and service methods. Service method is mandatory, right? So in this way we are creating the object for the class. It is done internally by the servlet engine itself, and it is able to find using the URL pattern itself. Okay, understood everyone?
Yeah.
Right, so try to do the first servlet application inside the, like this here. Like what I'm trying to do, I'm giving some values here and the same values are being displayed on the browser. I'm not using any database connectivity, right? So next time when you use a database connectivity, like tomorrow we'll see the database connectivity and the login servlet part. Clear?
Yeah.
So if anyone has this video recorded, try to upload. Ram, if you have this recording, just upload. Or Pujit, if you have, you can upload. Okay? Fine then. So by tomorrow's class, before the class, try to complete. If you do this first application, the remaining will be coming easily. The same way, same flow, just the first application is important. Okay?
Okay.
Okay then. Bye.